Bruce Friedman of Adult Site Broker, and welcome to Adult Site Broker Talk, where each week we interview one of the movers and shakers of the adult industry, and we give you a tip on buying and selling websites. This week we'll be speaking with Robert Warren of Robert Warren SEO. We've doubled our affiliate payouts at ASB Cash. Now, when you refer sellers or buyers to us, you'll receive 20% of our broker commission on any and all sales that result from that referral for life. Check out asbcash.com for more details and to sign up. And we're proud to announce our latest project, thewaronporn.com. You'll find articles from industry websites as well as mainstream publications. It's designed to raise awareness of our industry's plight in the war on porn and the numerous attacks on our industry. You'll find all that and more at thewaronporn.com. Now time for our property of the week that's for sale at Adult Site Broker. We're proud to offer a premium campsite launched in 2010. It was designed and developed for models by models. Many of their current hosts have been with them for over a decade due to high traffic, high payouts, tons of earning options, a robust model interface, and more. The site has safety features like the ability to block and report customers, geo-blocking, and geo-hiding. The owner started an adult as a doorman at the Men's Club of Charlotte. As an entrepreneur with little coding experience, he built their prototype site. Once the first dancer from the club made some money, more followed and the site took off. Their database has over 127,000 registered users and over 1,100 registered models. Potential buyers with access to models, dancers, or creators can onboard their current talent and increase sales quickly. White label owners can instantly double profits by switching to their own platform. Also, investing in recruiting and hiring hosts or onboarding new talent pays off instantly. If a host is added today, it is reflected in revenue immediately. Only $926,000. Now time for this week's interview. My guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk is Robert Warren of Robert Warren SEO. Hey, Rob, thanks for being back with us on Adult Site Broker Talk.
Very welcome. I've always enjoyed my time when I'm here with you.
It's always great having you. Now, Rob is a 32-year veteran of the adult industry. That just means, like me, he's old. He owns and operates robertwarrenseo.com, providing long-time professionalism and service in SEO and marketing. Robert is the father of 5 kids. He's been busy, 2 dogs, and 2 cats, and he says they help keep him sane. Rob is known as a longtime industry veteran, offering advice, wisdom, and guidance in addition to speaking at a variety of seminars, writing numerous articles, appearing on radio programs and podcasts, including this one, and having articles written about him. Robert is gearing up for Internext Las Vegas coming up this weekend. He was chosen to speak on the SEO panel. Learn more about him from his website, robertwarrenseo.com, or at the Internext website under speakers. So, Rob, you've got Internext coming up, as we just said. This isn't the first time for you to speak there, so why has it taken so long for you to speak there again?
You know, I used to do it all the time, whether it was in Florida or Montreal, whatever, not just Internext, but other places, Montreal. I remember one time I was like on 5 panels in one show, and it was basically because Internext, some of the speakers didn't show up, so they quickly gave me a call and said, hey, can you go over here? Like, yeah, why not, So, yeah, I used to do it all the time, probably for like about 20 years or something, but, since then, and then obviously having the kids and being, more tied down to the home, just working behind my desk and with the increased responsibilities to clients and that, I just kind of stepped away from doing it. COVID hit, obviously, and that stopped a few things. But yeah, raising kids, and I just couldn't get away from my clients or my family in time. And so when they asked me this time around, it took a little bit of convincing. My wife just said, "Get out of here, please." And so, So I was like, yeah, yes, dear. So that's why I'm heading off.
So talking earlier, I sensed a little bit of, I don't know if the word's pain from you, since you'll be in a room with people who maybe don't understand SEO. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, boy, do I ever feel bad about saying that. I don't like being negative about other people and other people who claim to be SEO people or do whatever, but I just found that over the years that there's so many people who claim to know SEO, but in short, they just really, really depend upon third-party software that they buy, like, SEMrush or whatever.
Well, those are good tools, though, right?
But they have flaws. All of them have flaws, and I can get into that later on if you want. But and then other ones that they don't even know the basics of setting up analytics or reading it or adjusting and listening to truly what's happening out there. Some just think, hey, I'm just going to buy this software and go with it, and a lot of webmasters, unfortunately, are being suckered in by people. One situation where I saw a client or somebody who had spent $6,000 on getting an SEO report, and all it was just a SEMrush printout.
6,000?
Yeah, $6,000. That's what they spent for it.
You can get it free from SEMrush.
Thank you. I know, but somebody charged him $6,000 and got away with it, and not just SEMrush, but a lot of that information you can get directly from Google as well, and some of the things that they have. And I've seen some people do some very nasty things, like they'll recommend certain places over others. They get a percentage if they recommend certain places, so they'll lean towards that. They're not helping the client out; they're helping themselves out, and so there's a lot of things that happen out there, and that company. When they do stuff like that, more than anything, those companies tend to go under because they're listening to people who are just in it for themselves, and or they rely upon this third party software. So yeah.
I've always felt when it comes to SEO that a large percentage of the people doing it, if you looked at it, if you used a medical analogy, are what would be called quacks.
That's a good word.
Yeah, I've always felt that way, and that's been my experience over the years. So, unfortunately, and I wish I completely understood SEO, but who has the time, right? Who has the time to keep up, unless you're doing it? Who has the time to keep up with all the changes that happen with Google? It's crazy.
Well, that's why, like on my website, I've got all the latest Google updates. And it's just a link that goes right to Google, and it tells you what's happening every single time. And as an SEO person, you've got to keep up on all of the latest stuff that's happening, whether it's some of the latest updates and how it's going to refer to it. And, if Google is going after black hat SEO, or whether, they're changing things around and using the new type of algorithm and AI tools like they're starting to right now. They're using Gemini AI, which is changing. Well, they're using it more for mobile than they are for desktops, but it's changing the way SEO works and finding keywords and doing various things like that. Because using now this AI tool, you have to change your structure around and your meta tags and everything to be able to suit it for that purpose. So yeah.
So you mentioned third-party SEO tools for webmasters, and that even SEO people use them the wrong way. Why don't you get into a little bit more detail on that?
All right. First off, the tools themselves, there are some positive and benefits to them. Let me get that out front. But some of the other things that people don't realize about some of these tools, outside of you got the costs of them, you got the overwhelming features of them, you got the limited customization, the reliance on third-party tools, the redundancy that happens with free tools. But for example, SEMrush that we just talked about, it doesn't take into account the worldwide situation, and they have a slower reporting system as far as, it's not a live type of a thing. And they also give an inaccurate overview of domain authorities, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. People have an over-reliance to it. The data accuracy isn't exactly there, and that's simply because SEMrush has its own algorithm, which is separate than analytics. And a lot of times they give you an imperfect data source. So there's a lot of inaccuracies. So there's accuracy and reliability of the data, the limitations and the features and the depth of the analysis, the dependency on the tools. Like, for example, well, SEMrush wasn't exactly built for adult content or websites. We know that.
Was anything?
And well, yeah, but you know the algorithms, right?
Right.
And so and the traffic in SEMrush is also an estimate, and it's using its own algorithms and data source. It's an estimate. But here's the key thing that a lot of people don't realize. The traffic only covers Google and not any other search engines. So you're kind of stuck there. I mean, I just had somebody that who's a client who came back and said, my domain authority dropped for for whatever. And I said, no. In fact, it actually went up. And I said, well, SEMrush said this. And I was like, oh, God, here we go. So I listed about five or six different domain authorities out there, who do that.
People besides SEMrush who do that, including Google, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. So I had all of them, and oddly enough, they all were above. They didn't go down. I mean, he was saying it went down to 28, and then all of a sudden it was like there's other places that are going, it's in 50s, it's in the 70s, right? And I'm going, see what I'm saying? Like, they have their own algorithm, they do their own thing, and when you're talking about, it's like, oh, here's certain type of some of your backlinks or some of your other links aren't working, yada, yada, yada. And then you go to your Google Search Console and there's no warnings. There's nothing there that tells you that, hey, something's wrong in this thing. It's because SEMrush and other ones have their own algorithms that say, oh, there's a problem here. But they're going, there's a problem. But Google's going, no. There's nothing wrong here. Then you go to fix the problem, and then it creates a problem in analytics and in the Google Search Console. So a lot of people get confused, and I've seen people. I had one guy that actually just signed up with me 3 months ago, and a year ago he was my client, and then he said, "Okay, I'm going to be fine." I brought him up to like about, I don't know, he was getting something like about 20,000 hits a month. And he said, "Okay, I'm good now." And then he went out and he got SEMrush, and then he got another SEO person to do it. And I was like, fine. And then over the year, they just dropped, and all their traffic was going, all the backlinks are going, the whole thing. And he finally called me up, and he was just like, "I need you." And I was like, "Well, what did you do? I had this thing growing." And he was like, "Well, we looked at SEMrush and they were telling us all this stuff." And I was like, "Well, that's what happened." And all these error reports. Well, there's what error reports? Google Search Console. Well, the SEO people never told us about that. That's because they didn't look at it.
Yeah, Google Search Console is the Bible. There's no two ways about it when it comes to that stuff.
But people who are SEO should know analytics. They should know your Search Console and understand it and read it. Like, where do I get keywords? Well, duh, Search Console has it. It's right there. So yeah, anyways, that's just my 2 cents there.
There's a lot of things that Google provides you. There's no two ways about it. As much of a pain in the ass as Google is, but that's neither here nor there. What changes are you seeing in your approach to assisting people with SEO?
Well, a few years ago, everybody was getting into like webcams, like during COVID and things like that. Everybody and their mother was wanting to create a webcam site, and they were doing all that because they can do it from home. But I don't even want to get into white labeling. Then came OnlyFans, and that was where that was something that actually came upon me about a year or 2 ago. First time I had an OnlyFans person give me a call and say, "Can you help me?" And I was like, "I'm going to do the best I can." Fortunately, I was able to. And now what's happening lately is I'm getting multiple calls from people that are starting up these AI sites, taking your picture and changing it into this, or, hey, if you want to see yourself kissing your favorite celebrity or your dead grandmother or whatever, giving them a hug, this is what you do. So that's, by the way, I'm going to give you a little secret here. A lot of companies who start up AI have a difficult time getting processing with credit cards and things like that.
I know a lot of people in AI who've lost their processing because they tried to go through things like Patreon and I'm just trying to think what other mainstream processors they used. It was dumb.
Well, you would know because you're the best broker that's out there.
Thank
So
you.
you would know about the different sites and what goes on there. But I found that one of the things that helps them out a great deal is having a takedown policy. A takedown policy that's just right there that says, no matter what, you don't like it, it gets taken down. And then the credit card company goes, okay, that's fine. Right? So I've seen a lot of people being able to get their processing credit card because they have a takedown policy that's just, we don't even debate it. It just gets down because anything that's, they'll look at it as being revenge porn. That's one of the things with AI. And then you've got, X or your Twitter.
Twiddle's good.
Social. Yeah. Then, I get people that are talking about their Twitter. A lot of them I just help just for the fun of helping them. Like I had this girl that was out in BC and she had her own stuff that was going on. She was on Pornhub. She was on a bunch of other places. And she was just going, hey, can you give me some advice here? So I was throwing her some stuff there. And that's the problem is that a lot of people who are on OnlyFans or Twitter, they don't know any of this stuff because they don't get on, let's say, certain message boards or they don't know where to read any of this stuff. And, what is out there really doesn't help them, to succeed or to know what to do next day, or to know what to do as far as, helping them out with that particular group. Because if they're on Twitter or wherever, or OnlyFans, they're very, very limited on what they can do, what they can't do.
Well, they can't really sell anything on Twitter or X, as it's now called. Thank you, Elon.
Yeah.
It's thank you for many things, Elon. We won't get into that, but you can't really sell anything on X, but X is used as a promotional vehicle for OnlyFans and other creator platforms and other porn sites and things like that.
Hey, so that's some of the things that I've noticed that have changed over a little while.
So are you finding you're hearing from a lot of creators who want to help their OnlyFans?
Yeah, I'm finding a lot. I've been surprised. I've gotten several porn stars. Fortunately, I've been able to help them out and increase like a lot. So they've been very, very happy. And, I teach them how to do it themselves so that they're not depending upon me because I know these people, some of them, are having to nickel and dime themselves just to be able to survive, and then to afford somebody for SEO is difficult for them. So I try to teach them as much as I can.
I can see it now. Robert Warren OnlyFans agency. It's coming soon. No.
I would rather create something on my website or create articles to help them out because, unless they're the ones that are making like $10 million a month, then come to me, sure.
And those don't usually ask for an agency to take a percentage. It's the smaller ones that are trying, or the medium-sized ones that are looking to build up. They're the ones looking for an agency. So we've talked about going to trade shows, which are important not just for networking, but also for gaining knowledge. Do you have advice for people who are planning on attending shows, especially people new in the business?
Make sure you get the address right of the place. What I've always found is your body, your health is very, very important. And so I personally always arrive the day beforehand. I get some rest and I plan out what my next day is going to be, including the seminars or the booths, even the parties. If I'm getting there, some people will have jet lag, others just, getting used to their surroundings. So I always try to I get into my room, I order some food up to the room. I might take a little walk around just to make sure I get, my bearings correct. And then I go back to my room and I sleep till the next day. And then I'm pretty much rested. I always have water nearby. And I always make sure that as far as the parties go, I will go for a short time because if you go too long, then you burn your throat out because you're talking too loud. Too loud. As far as business wise, I have a policy. It's called never eat alone. So you find somebody that's in your niche or whatever product or whatever you're doing, and you invite them out for a meal and you talk to them over the meal, so that if you make a sale or you gain knowledge, then that was not a wasted hour or whatever that you had in eating. The other thing is networking as well. Is a lot of people, they tend to go to the shows and just think that if you build it, they will come. And that's not really what happens in this industry. People buy from the people they trust. So you need to get to know them first, talk it out, get to know things about them and develop a relationship so that, if they do decide to go with you, it's like, hey, I think this person's cool, let's do it. And always research, who they are, like check the references as well. Just don't assume that they're, a multi-million dollar company and doing whatever, or buying traffic, for example. That's the worst one is, when you buy traffic from somebody and then it just dies. But as I said, drink a lot of water. Don't expect too much business at parties because it's loud as can be. Try to keep your sleep under control so that you're not burnt out too much. And have a goal or a task that you want to achieve and work for it. This is not a holiday. This is business, and you got to treat it. You and I both have seen people that are just like, sliding down the fountain or, just going absolutely crazy and wild. And I'm like, if I'm a company and I'm spending, let's say, $3,000 to $5,000 sending this person on a business trip and all they're doing is just, screwing around, then that's a waste of time.
Free booze is not free.
Very, very smart. You're right.
I've always said that about the shows. I learned it very early on. Free booze is not free. So what are some common mistakes people often make regarding SEO?
First off, the name. I mean, I know people call it search engine optimization, but there's a new phrase that's out there. It's called search everywhere optimization. So you got to think outside the box and start creating new venues and getting to learn new venues, whether it's social media, whether it's whatever. Get to learn it. Anyways, the first mistake that I see people make is just they don't need it, and that's usually followed by a couple of months of low traffic and failed purchases and all that stuff. Oh, I bought this script somewhere, or I'm using this third-party tool and I don't need it. It'll do it by itself. And the second mistake, and you know this as well, I'll guarantee you know this through brokerage and all that stuff, cheapest is not always the best. People often hire, as I said, people using third-party software, or you get somebody who's like, oh, somebody in my apartment building can do it for me for $50 a month. And I just shake my head because it's like, if you're talking 50 or $100, forget it. And you know the same thing. You know what you do. And as I mentioned, or they buy their own SEO software. And we already talked about the too many cons and the inaccuracies there. The other thing that people make a mistake on is they're still stuck in Universal Analytics, UA. I ran into that 3 weeks ago. I was talking to a guy, he's like, well, perfectly fine, we're getting this and this. And I looked at it and I just went, wait a minute, you have a UA in front of your ID. I was looking at a source code, right? Because I always check out their source code. And I was like, you're still on Universal Analytics, man. What's going on?
I didn't even think that was available anymore.
No, it's not that it's available. It's not available. In fact, I mean, your readings and everything are all screwed up, but people haven't upgraded to Analytics 4 because they don't know how, and they never done it. So they figured, hey, I got UA. It's still giving me some readings, so it's got to be working somehow. And so they just stick with it, and they just ignore it.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. That's because you come at it from somebody who knows what you're talking about.
People don't know what they don't know, Rob.
Right. But I'm just saying, you asked what are some of the things that people mistakes. The other thing is what we talked about before, ignoring the Search Console recommendations and warnings. And also people thinking that SEO is a short-term thing. They think that, it can be done in a couple of weeks or whatever.
Talk about that. It's ongoing, isn't it? I mean, once a site is quote unquote optimized, it really never ends.
It doesn't. But the difference here, and what I'm saying is that while I'm optimizing it and while I'm doing it, I ask them and I get somebody that's working with them, whether it's the owner or somebody, and I train them so that one is like, okay, you don't need me now. This is something this person can do. And so I train people to take over that job so that they can, and then I leave myself available to them. So it's like, a year down the road, it's like, hey, Rob, I'm noticing this happening. Can you take a look? And I do. That's one thing. The last thing is that, I shouldn't say the last thing, but the other thing is that when you have somebody who's been around for a while, like you've been around a while and I've been around a while, and if you're getting advice or recommendations and you ignore them, there's something wrong. Because there are people that are so stubborn in their ways that it's like, I have a dream. You're not Luther King, okay? You're not Martin Luther King. You have a vision as to what you want your website to look like, but it doesn't work. And so they get on the webmaster boards, they're talking to people like you and I, and it's kind of like, okay, seriously, man, it's not going to work. And then they go, screw you. I think one of the last things, and I don't know if this is going to come as a surprise to you or not, but domain authority it's not that important. In other words, people misunderstand what domain authority really is. Because what it is domain authority really, or DA as people call it, and I know a lot of SEO people and everybody loves throwing that out there saying, oh, you have a domain authority 32, you got to bring it up to here and do. It's like, wait a minute here, hang on. It is not a ranking factor for Google. Google does not actively take your domain authority score into account when they decide how to rank your website pages. Instead, think of a domain authority, or DA, as nothing more than an indicator of where you are already or how you stand already as far as your organic ranking strength. Okay, so when you use a domain authority checker, like the ones you see in SEO, Rush and all that stuff pages, and get a numbered score back, you're just seeing a numerical representation of how Google currently views your site, and that's why domain authority is still a useful number to track as you work on your SEO. But the issues that determine your 0 to 100 domain authority, or DA score, are the exact issues that Google is looking at to rank your pages.
Well, here's something that's interesting, and just a thought that I have. If you look at my situation, okay, brokering websites, obviously it's a big ticket item, okay? It's very different from adult sites where they're looking for some volume. But somebody like me, if I got one visit a day and each one of those became a client, then my SEO is working, okay? But everybody's needs are different.
It's very true.
Interesting way to think about it.
It is, but is it realistic?
Well, no. My point is if you get one quality person to visit you, is my point. So anyway, have you ever declined to work with any client? And if so, why?
Oh, yes. Yes, I have. And The first one I would say is just having a sense as to whether they're unwilling to change anything about the foundation of the site or care about the recommendations. And you kind of sit back and say, well, why are you hiring me? Or why are you thinking of hiring me? Because if I'm saying, you got to change your text here, or you got to use these key words because they're basically getting watered down because your competitors using them, or using a word like teen, everybody uses it. So how are you planning to have that benefit you?
Hard to rank for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had so many people, and I can't say their names, but I've had large organizations, massive ones, worth millions and millions of dollars, and I sat there and I went, "You can't do that. You've got to train your people this way and do it this way and do it this way." And then they just said, "Nope, we're going to do it this way." And within 3 years, they were out of business. It happens because they don't listen to your wisdom or what you're trying to help them with. And sometimes, yeah, you get hired or potentially hired. And it's like, so if you know all the answers, why are you sitting here talking to me?
Because my boss told me to hire an SEO person.
Yeah. Well, that's the second thing is that when they finally, a lot of times they've given me access to their Google Search Console. And the first thing that I do is I head directly towards the notifications. And if they've got several takedown notices and a large amount of content that's either stolen or illegal, I have a problem working with these people. I have left people who have started off okay, and they're like, okay, I want you to do this and this and this. And I'm like, wait a minute, where did this come from? And then I'm seeing takedown notices like crazy. And there's actually 3 people that I can think of in the past year that I've had to decline and walk away from. It's like, thanks for the money, but this just came up. And I'm telling you, you've had notifications, takedown notices, and I'm looking at your website, and where's the IDs? Where's all this kind of stuff? And then the third one. And this is where the webmaster boards come in handy. This is when you look at the history of how they work with other people. Are they the ones who refuse to pay for work that they've gotten in the past? Or do they do a lot of chargebacks? That kind of stuff. So if they got a negative reputation on the board, and I'm negative not in the sense that they're just the way that they present themselves, but negative in the sense of how they've done business with other people. That's why it's very, very important to scan the boards and to find out, that kind of stuff. Because if you got somebody who's, charging back the payments or refusing to pay for work or things like that, those are red flags.
But don't believe everything you read on GFY.
Well, obviously, you have to be smart enough to do your own research.
Yes.
But if there's a history and
right, it comes up over and over again.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, person. But if there's 4 people or 5 people that have all said I've had the same thing, and these people who said it are respected individuals. Like if you came up and said such and such a company has jerked me around for money and they refuse to give me my commission, I'm going to take that a lot more seriously because I know you, and I'm going to go, okay, well, that's a red flag, versus somebody who's, named Trisket, who just does 3 posts and they, put something on there. I mean, that's where it gets back to what we talked about at the very beginning, when it's like, what do you do at trade shows? You develop a network because people buy from people they trust. They also take the advice and the warnings, not just advice, but the warnings from people that they know.
Yeah, and there's also scam groups of scammers like on Facebook and all that. I was in that before I got kicked off of Facebook. So anyway, oh well. Anyway.
You were kicked off of Facebook?
Yeah, it's a long story. They don't like people in the adult industry.
Yeah, I hear you.
So you're known for not having too many long-term clients. Why is that?
Well, as I mentioned before, my goal, it's kind of like if you were to bring a car into a dealership or a garage. I mean, you would expect to take it in, they might keep it for a couple of days, fix it, and then they let it go because there's no reason for it to stay in the shop. So I look at it that way, that people bring their websites or their problems or whatever to me, and I fix them. I get them up and running. I like to train the people and then kind of let them fly on their own for a little bit and, be there for a little bit. But to me, there's no sense in screwing people over for money. I mean, I've got people that keep coming, to me for more work. So it's like, what's the purpose and the point, of doing that? Like, get them to learn for themselves. And if you're training them to find and assess and fix the problems, you also got to train them to look ahead. Now, if it's the owner, then fine, then that's their choice, and they might want to pause and monitor it for a while. But my job is to help them make money by converting the traffic. I've always told that to people. I mean, your job is for SEO, and this is my job is actually to help convert the traffic, because I can throw traffic at your site. You know that, and I know that. You, especially with being brokers, that people can do that easily. But throwing traffic at somebody's site is useless if it's not converting.
Well, I think that my feeling on that is any traffic source, SEO, purchase traffic, social, whatever, the job of the person or the job of the traffic is for it to be quality traffic. Okay. I think the job of the company is to convert the traffic. That's my feeling. Because if their website's an unmitigated disaster, then you can't convert that traffic.
I guess for me, doing SEO for as long as I have, I've got my feet wet into, people who purchase traffic or where they get it from. So I often give advice on various forms of traffic and what works and what doesn't work.
Right. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, sure. I'm not a keen thing at the beginning of the stage of the relationship with the client. I'm not a big supporter of purchasing traffic. I'm a huge champion for fixing the problems, getting the foundation fixed before you build the house. Okay? Because there's no sense throwing traffic if the site's screwing up everywhere. I had a guy, for example, last year, they were spending, I kid you not, they were spending $12,000 a month on Google Ads. And I sat there and I went, and how much is converting? How much is actually coming back to you? And they didn't know.
Well, you know what the problem is? The problem is Google makes it very, very hard to track that. They don't want you to know.
You can do it in analytics. You can track it in analytics.
True.
Okay,
but
so
you can't do it in Google Ads, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, yes, but there's ways of doing it that's what SEO people are for. But in being able to traffic or do that, I found that everyone that I've worked with, and this is a bold statement, everyone that I've worked with, I've always found has never been able to get ahead of the curve when it comes to buying Google Ads and actually converting it so that you're making money rather than losing money every month. Whether it's $12,000 or whether it's $2,000 or $200, you can spend $200, but you'll always maybe make $20 back.
Oh, I know people who have been successful with Google Ads, very successful, actually. I think it depends. I think it depends on the business. Okay. I have one client who does OnlyFans traffic, and he's made a freaking fortune on Google Ads.
I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't work. Okay. But normally when you run up against people who try to do it themselves, like I've done Google Ads. So that, I know it can do something, but generally is what I'm talking about.
Well, if you don't know what you're doing, it's very, very difficult. Yes, you're right. You need somebody to help you.
And that also goes with purchasing traffic from your regular sources that, when they talk about traffic, it's like, okay, let's go to Juicy Ads or let's go to some other company that's out there. The problem is that with these companies outside, oh God, because I love the people over there and I know them, but what happens is they can send you some good traffic at the beginning, but then they also have to get new clients coming in. So they only have so much good traffic to go around. So then the new ones come in, and then they got to shift that traffic over there. And so that makes you going down. The other thing is that you have to monitor it almost on a daily basis, because you got to know what sites to work with and what sites not to work with. And doing all that and seeing the conversions and doing all, and working with that, they leave you alone a lot unless you're working with your manager. But then again, it's just like you're constantly having to work with it and work with it and work with it. And that's what happens with a lot. I mean, I've been in places where they've had 6 different types of places where they purchase traffic for. And you're just like every single day, it's like spreadsheets and going out and doing all that. Can it be done? Yes. But before you get to that point, there's also specific places you can go that just have, for example, you want tube traffic, then I'll get you tube traffic. I want cam traffic, then I'll get you cam traffic. Some people, when they go out there, they don't know what traffic they're actually getting.
Right. They don't know how to buy traffic. They should be working with an experienced media buyer.
So fortunately, I've had experience with that, and I know you have as well. That it's like when you get to that point of wanting to purchase traffic, you have a whole new area that you got to teach them on how to be able to monitor it and learn the conversion ratios and make it work for you. But the first thing, obviously, is getting the foundation of the SEO set up there.
I agree. Do you think it's wise to work on the SEO of a site you plan on selling?
Oh, man.
I guess that's a yes.
It's a yes and a yes, because being a successful broker as you are, I know that you look at numbers. And you're looking at the sales and you're looking at the traffic, and is it growing? That's excellent for projections and the whole thing. But you also got to take into account, is that traffic that's on the site, is it organic or is it from purchase traffic? Because I've seen people that have inflated the traffic for 6 months or a year for the purpose of selling it. And then once they've sold it, then they stop buying the traffic, and then suddenly everything drops.
Some people will inflate the traffic, which inflates the sales, which inflates the profits. And if you don't keep up at that level, then not exactly what.
So that's why, and again, I'm giving you a plug here. That's why it's always important to use a broker if you're planning to buy or to sell a website, because that's your job to sit there and say, hey, look, this is its value. This is its real value. And the traffic that's here, this is organic versus, the real stuff. So if somebody's offering to pay 150,000 or 200,000, then you've got to know that the sales that are there are from organic or, from whatever. And if somebody's willing to take on the paid traffic or what we were just talking about, purchase traffic, then are you prepared to switch that over and give us the account? But just being open and honest sometimes is very difficult, especially if you get somebody who just wants to sell.
But it's right there in the financials too, right? The costs are there. So, I make sure that my clients put accurate financials in there. So the cost of the traffic is going to be right there in the marketing.
Oh, God, I wished everybody would say that. I've talked to brokers, and you know this, and again, I hate being negative, but I know people who sit there and they come out and they send emails saying this is making this much traffic, this is doing this much, but they don't break down what is organic and what is purchased or how long it's been going for. They don't give you that facts.
Well, the analytics are available to any client who wants them.
Yeah, but to what point? There are brokers out there and people selling their website that are not exactly doing the most honest thing.
Oh, I know. I've run across people like that for sure. And I don't take on those listings.
Then we get back to what you and I originally talked about a while ago, where basically you pay for what you get. That just going with the cheapest route is not exactly the best thing to do. If you have somebody who's trained and know what they're doing, then you got to go that route.
What recommendations can you give for someone who can't afford an SEO professional like yourself?
Great question. Great question. Actually, I'm going to be coming out. I'm working with Mark from Too Much right now. We're building a section on my site that's going to be free that you can enter your URL and you're going to get all the details about your site that needs to be changed or helped out or the spreadsheet. That way, and it's totally free. It'll be totally free. And if you want any other information or more details, you just then email me.
I'll try it out on my site.
It's almost done. We were just testing it like 2 days ago. Okay, so I'll keep this as brief as possible. So you conduct keyword research, for example. There's free tools out there like Google Keyword Planner. There's Uber Suggest, Answer the Public to find relevant keywords for your niche, whatever. Look for long tail keywords, more specific phrases, things that have got lower competition are relevant to your audience. Focus on keywords that solve problems to your target. Optimize your on-page SEO. Many people don't know that your title tags, the maximum you should have is 60 characters. Your meta description, 160 characters for each page. Headings, make sure you're using your H1, your H2 tags properly. Don't overkill. H1 tags are basically for your primary keywords. URLs, use clean, descriptive URLs. I don't know what some people just, they have the strangest URLs that they create and they think that it's going to work. A very, very important thing. If you haven't learned anything from anything about SEO, this is very, very important. Internal linking. Linking to other pages on your site using relevant anchor text. That's going to help boost your site up. Image optimization. Right now, the big thing is go WebP. Don't go JPEG. Don't go anything. Change everything over to WebP. Smaller files, easier to load, works like that. And on your file names, do not go like 01 font 4 for JPEG or WebP. Use descriptive keywords for your images because Google does not read numbers. Okay? Obviously, then the next step would be create high quality content, improve your website speed. There's a free tool from Google. You can also find it on my website. There's improve your website speed is very, very important. Mobile optimization is very, very important. Keep in mind that your mobile speed is going to be different than your desktop speed. And that's basically because you're going through a lot of stuff. Your mobile is going to be slower than your desktop. It's a long story, but anyways, if you are a business that has local stuff, understand your local SEO, create, like the Google My Business profile, make sure you have your address, whatever, accurate, everything's accurate there. Optimization for local keywords, your business type, things that are near you, your city. Encourage customers to leave reviews is very important. Then you've got your backlink building. Get it from reputable websites. Do guest posts, relevant blogs in your industry. Let's see. Create shareable content like infographics or research-based articles. Reach out to other websites in your niche. Do a collaboration, that kind of stuff. You can even use HARO, H-A-R-O, which is help a reporter out, to provide expert opinions in exchange for backlinks from news sites. Monitor your performance, setting up Google Analytics properly. Use Google Search Console that I said. Keep track of your keyword ranking with tools. You can use SERP Watch, SERP Watcher, or again, Google Search Console itself. You can use social media, improve your user experience, make sure your site is easy to navigate, check your bounce back rate, avoid too many pop-ups, regular updating your site. Yeah. Oh, God, I can't believe I just went through all that.
You did good.
That's off the top of my head. Don't even ask me to get detailed right now. But yeah, that's off the top of my head. Let's do what you can do.
And if you want more details, go to robertwarrenseo.com. Well, Rob, I'd like to thank you for being back with us today on Adult Site Broker Talk, and I hope we'll get a chance to do this again soon.
I hope so, too. It's always a pleasure being on here with you and talking with you and just having some fun like this. I appreciate it.
Indeed. Enjoy Vegas.
I will. Thank you.
My broker tip today is part 6 of what to do to make your site more valuable for when you decide to sell it later. Last week we talked about eliminating unneeded expenses. Next, you can trademark your website. Having a trademark instantly protects your brand and makes your site more valuable for when it comes time to sell it. Trademarking your site will cost an average of about $1,500, but should be more than worth the investment when it comes time to sell. Show buyers ways you feel the site can make more money in the future. This includes showing them future plans you may have, traffic trends as well as sales trends. If things are growing and you can show them how to grow them more, they're likely to be willing to pay more for the site. Do something unique with your site. If you have competitors, figure a way to do it better. Be different in some distinguishable way that makes you better. Your members will notice and spend more money with you. Make your site a place that people want to visit, not just to buy things or view porn. Be creative, not just one of many. Keep thinking outside the box and make positive changes to your site. Think like a buyer when planning or updating your site. Don't think like a tech. Think like the consumer. We'll talk about this subject more next week. And next week, we'll have a very special guest, Solomon Friedman of Ethical Capital Partners, in part 1 of a 2-part episode. And that's it for this week's Adult Site Broker Talk. I'd once again like to thank my guest, Robert Warren of Robert Warren SEO. Talk to you again next week on Adult Site Broker Talk. I'm Bruce Friedman.